Hello, this is Women in Sport WA's second Road to Tokyo interview. Today we have the amazing Tyler Miller, and she is off to umpire or referee sevens in the Olympic Games in Tokyo. So we're just going to have a general chat, with Tyler, find out her history, her passions, her ins and outs, and just completely informal and just a chat, not a serious interview. Okay, how are you?
Yes, I'm good. Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
Good. So when are you off?
I leave Thursday, so it's Monday today, so I've got a few more days. But I had to go get my first COVID test today, so it's all sort of starting to happen, you know.
So was that a test after you got your 2 jabs, or?
Yeah, I work at a hospital, so I've had to get vaccinated. At the beginning of the year, I already had it. But yeah, if I didn't work at a hospital, I was going to have to get it anyway. But yeah, 2 tests, so 1 today, 1 tomorrow, and then that's about it.
Now you're going, do you get one of those big suitcases full of clothes like all the athletes get?
Not at all. We get gear, which obviously we've had for like a little while now.
You don't get new gear?
No. Maybe I'll bring out a new pair of boots that I wear for special occasions.
We'd be watching. We'd go, she needs to use boots. Yeah. Crowdfund.
We do get some stuff over there, but that's just like the generic Olympic things, but no, nothing too.
So are you employed then by the Olympics to go over, or by the rugby or Rugby AU, whatever we call it?
By World Rugby, yeah.
World Rugby,
yeah. By World Rugby, we're contracted through Rugby Australia.
Rugby Australia, okay.
Yeah.
Right, let's go back to the start. Yeah. So, as a little girl, how did you end up either playing sport or getting into rugby?
Well, I was born in New Zealand, and then we moved. I would have been 8 when we moved. And so as soon as we got here, my parents were like, all right, let's find the closest rugby club and we'll go and join. So we did. Yeah. Down at Arcs, we joined.
Oh, yes.
My brother and I.
I was wondering what the connection with Arcs was.
Yeah, that was my club. And then my younger brother and I, so he's 3 years younger than me, we joined, and I was playing in my own team because I was under 12. So girls were allowed to play mixed rugby until they reached 12. And then when I got to 12, there was no rugby for girls to be able to play anymore.
Yeah.
So I played brother's team for another season after that because they let me do that, even though I was, a very tall child. So
still are.
I don't know.
Not child, adult.
The only girl and the tallest on the field by a mile, playing against, people that were 3 years younger than me. But when that stopped, I just started reffing because my brother was still playing. My dad played and reffed, so I had to go anyway. So I was like, all right, well, I may as well do something. So I started reffing when I was 13.
Wow.
Still.
You were that young.
Yeah, well, because I had nothing else to do, Yeah. So I just started like running the sidelines and just sort of doing something. And yeah, I don't know, here I am.
Yeah. And like, I was listening to a podcast recently with what's her name? The girl who kicked the ball in the AFL, Tyler.
Oh, Taylor. Yeah.
And it's a common theme about, there not being the pathway in male-dominated sports for girls when they hit that age of 12, 13, Yeah.
And
one of the things she was saying was that she ended up having to play senior women's football at that age, which was more detrimental to her physically than still playing with the boys.
Yeah, so I think even they said to me, like, obviously I can stop playing when I'm 12. I can start again when I'm 16 and play women's though, because they would have let me do that. And I was never a great player, 12 years old. Some people know that they're going to be great rugby players, but I was not that. And so the idea of that was like, well, So I started playing soccer just casually on a Sunday, as still reffing on a Saturday. But I remember always thinking like, oh, I wish, I don't know, I think people don't always think about refereeing as being involved in the game still. They sort of do it separately. And I always remember thinking, oh, I really wish I could be involved in doing something. And so now reffing's different. I think it's a bit more inclusive. But yeah, it was certainly that like, oh, you know, I still want to do something. And now there are those options for girls, which is good. But yeah, it wasn't always the case.
So I used to play rugby. Did you know that?
I think I might have.
So I started playing rugby in the UK. Yeah. And one of my friends who then went on to play for Ireland, Orla Brennan, she was like, you know, I used to play Gaelic football and soccer, everything under the sun. And she was trying to get me to play rugby. And I was like, no, that's a mad man sport or women's sport. I'm not doing that. And I eventually gave in and went down to my first training session and absolutely loved it. And I think why you're talking about that, and it's really important about saying it's a way of staying in the game if you're not playing anymore, of being inclusive. I think when you know, rugby is more than the game, you know, rugby as a sport is about the whole ethos and the social side and, you know, everything that comes with it.
Well, that's the thing. So my partner, Adam, he played for a local club and he's very injury prone. Poor thing, is constantly in and out of the hospital, just, you know, forever injured. And then last year, he had quite a serious injury and the doctor said, like, this is it. You need to, like, retire, you know? So he was like, oh, I'm just want to be involved still, but I'm not sure how. His work commitments meant he couldn't really coach at the club, which is what he wanted to do. So I was like, well, why don't you just come and ref? Just try it out. And he was always like, oh, no, I can't ref, you know? Yeah. I was like, look, it's the only option really for you to stay involved in the game. Yeah. We have a community. We train together every week. You know, we have social things. It might not be the same as a club team, but just give it a crack. And so he started this season, was his first season, and he loves it. Yeah. And the community's been so good. And, you know, we always need more referees and we're always so happy for more people to join. And yeah, it's been nice seeing him start from nothing pretty much. Like he had no with reffing. And now, you know, did a game on the weekend that was like his best game ever. So
what's he reffing at the moment?
He refs third grade.
Oh, third grade. Who was he? What teams?
He was at Pally, and it was Pally.
Yeah. Well, they're a harsh crowd.
Yeah. And I mean, third grade can, you know, have its own challenges, but he did really well. So
I'm sure Adam is fit enough for the third grade.
Yeah, he's been a little bit unwell, like he had a bit of a flu, so he was a bit worried about how he's going to go, but no, he's been fine.
Yeah. So what were the sort of pathways then? So you decided to ref, and what was the pathways? Because Jerry, my friend Jerry Healy, she refed when you were all down in Britannia when the juniors were down there. Yes. I used to love that. I used to think that was a great setup.
Yeah, when I first started, every Saturday was at Britannia for, you know, from 12 to when I was 18. Yeah. So there's rules with juniors. You're only allowed to referee if you're under 18. You have a 2-year window. So if you're 15, the oldest you can ref is under 13s, if that makes sense.
Okay. So if you're because you're too close in age.
Yeah, and it's just a safety thing, I think. So obviously I started at Britannia and was just reffing in that window until I was sort of 17, 18, and then I moved into seniors. But it's different now. Obviously the juniors are all over the place.
Everywhere.
Because unfortunately we lost the grounds at Britannia. Yeah. But Britannia itself was unique. Like when people used to come over for Super Rugby games and they would come down to Britannia, that didn't exist anywhere else in Australia, you know? So Perth was the
Either in
only place.
Ireland. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I was like,
It
this
was
is
the only
amazing.
place that's so unique, but you know, unfortunately, it is no more. But yeah, there's still junior games every weekend at clubs, which I mean, it must help build club atmosphere from juniors through seniors, having a full day of rugby on any day. But it is just so taxing on the volunteers, you know.
Yeah.
Like, have to run now from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. a full day. And
are you driving all over the place then to get from one game to the next?
Yeah, well, see, I only ref seniors, so I don't go to much junior rugby anymore unless there's a referee that I'm coaching, which I don't have anyone this season. I'm not coaching anyone. I had a young ref last season, but she's not reffing anymore. But yeah, some refs go all over. They'll go to 3 different grounds on a Saturday, and it's, you know, it's
and is that all volunteer, Tyler, or is there, you know, compensation or?
Yeah, you get paid match fees. So I think it's like $50 a game. And so if you ref 3 games, you get $150. But the actual travel time and stuff, you don't get compensated for that, no.
Okay, so you don't get compensated for that, yeah. Now, let me go to my questions, because I have all these questions down, and I don't think we've talked about any of the questions.
I'll shut up, sorry.
Okay. Who was your first female role model?
I think it has to be Julie Skiba.
Julie, I've heard that name. She
does everything for the referees.
Oh yes, I've heard of Julie.
Like she was the first female ref in WA, you know, like did absolutely everything, and was pretty much the only reason that I stayed involved for as long as I did without there really being much to do, you know. She was like, no, with it, you'll get to seniors and there'll be a lot more opportunities. So yeah, definitely Julie for like local sort of, but otherwise it was just Amy Perrett. Do you know Amy?
That's the referee who did Super Rugby. Yes.
Yeah. So she's a little bit older than me. She's a few years older than me, but just always seemed to be like absolute years ahead of everyone in her achievements.
Yeah.
And it was just phenomenal. It's like, I want to do what she's doing. And you meet her, is just the most like normal person. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I'd love to meet her. Yeah.
Yeah. All these amazing achievements to her name, and then you meet her and it's just like, you know, okay.
Yeah. And do you think if you didn't have an Amy there that you could, or a Julie there, you would, like a female presence in a sort of male dominated sport, that you would have stopped?
Yeah, I think so. And I think it just you get a bit like, okay, so like, what is there for me to do? What is there to achieve? There wasn't really a clear pathway until I was on it. I was figuring it out step by step. It wasn't like, okay, my next goal is to go to this or to that, because it wasn't like written down. It wasn't anything anyone could tell me.
Yeah.
So if I have that reassurance and those people being like, no, it's okay, just keep going and something will happen, it would have been a bit, you know, empty.
Yeah. Now, I'm not going to ask about the changes in rules lately, because that could open up, you know, that's a bit too intense. Let's keep with the women in sport element. Yeah. We can have the rugby conversation another day.
All the changes, the laws themselves are so complex that even you learn things every game now, and it's like, oh, that's, you know.
Yeah, and they're changing.
Yeah.
Now, sexism, all right?
Yeah.
What sexism have you faced, and how do you get past it?
It's strange, because I know in general the way that referees are treated in rugby comparable to other sports is much better. So our treatment on field, for like, you know, 9 times out of 10, I could not fault anything. But being really the first female to referee men's, footy, senior footy, and being, you know, the only female for quite a while as well, I think it was just people, it was different. Like, people didn't know what to do because they're like, oh, do we call you sir? Like, is that okay?
Yeah.
And it's
What
like,
do they call you?
It's like, for them, calling me is just their reaction, you know? It's their like, oh, ref, sir. And it's like, okay, if you're calling me sir, as long as it's respectful, I'm personally okay with that.
Yeah.
But I know the female referees are like, well, if I can adjust whether I'm refereeing males or females and call them like women or men, then miss, they can't call me sir. So I think that's just a personal preference at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think there was like 3 like key moments that I remember thinking, no, this is it. Like, I can't put up with this anymore. And like one specifically at juniors when I was still a junior reffing, twice at seniors when I was a senior. And it's like, what the hell? Like, you know, I just, at the end of the day, I just want to do my job. My gender shouldn't stop me achieving, and it hasn't. It's, you know, I'm capable of what I do regardless. And I think it took a while for people to understand that, honestly. I think that was just like, I don't know. I think building actually showing people that I can do it helped.
Yeah.
But there was an initial barrier, which was a bit tough.
Well, that's really good conversation. And people take a lot from that. And it's interesting about the sir thing, because, you know, after playing rugby, you call the referee sir, you know. It's just, yes, sir. Yes, sir. No, sir. Yeah. I didn't do that, sir. Or I did. Okay, what's next? All right, we're talking about role models. This is a little bit personal. Oh, yeah. And I know one, and I've met her before, and she is your niece. Can you see her?
Yeah, I have a lot of family.
Our little rising star, and I can never pronounce her name properly. The one we gave the card to, Meredith.
Yeah, there it is. How good.
Yeah.
Cards, actually.
What?
I love the little cards. I think they're great.
They're awesome. We're going to do them again. We just, Katie, who does them, actually got a proper job. So, you know, when proper jobs.
Yeah.
So when we met her and her mom, they were just saying how they had been with you that day, I think it was, or there was a family funeral, and she just looks up to you so much, and you're her role model.
Yeah, that's nice. So cute.
So cute. Yeah. Right, the Olympics.
Yeah.
So, is this your first Olympics?
It is. Yeah. Yeah. So very exciting. I think half of the referee team that's going, it's their first Olympics as well. So a good mix of, you know, experienced referees and then us sort of newbies in that field.
Yeah. So Maddie is going as well. She's from WA. Yeah. Maddie used to play at Pally, did she?
And for the Wallaroos, she played for Australia.
Oh, yes, she did. Yeah.
Yeah, but she played at a little palm tree tattooed on her leg forever to memorialize the palms.
What did they do? They do something funny with their hands.
I guess she won a premiership with them the last season before she then started reffing full time. So she won her premiership, went and got her tattoo, and now she's reffing.
They're starting up again. They're starting a junior program, I heard.
Yeah, well, so after she finished, I'm not sure if it was like the season after, but yeah, they don't.
It was the season after they cut. After they won.
Yeah, and I think she was a bit in the dumps about it. You know.
Yeah.
That was like she could be there and like try and find players, but I think that's the issue with the depth of women's sport in WA is that a lot of females just play so many sports.
Yeah, cross-coders. Cross-coders. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, you know, there's only so much that people can do.
Yeah, and I was listening to the Rugby Wrap, Mick and Mitch Hardy do their podcast, and Beck Clough was on it, and Beck was talking about that exact point.
Yeah.
And especially with the AFLW now that it's come in and it's this shining light for, all women of all sports.
Yeah.
And it's like, don't forget about us.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know, it's strange to think that clubs can go from winning a premiership one season to not being able to field a team one season, or, being in every grand final and then struggling to even get a team on a pitch. But
so women's sport is different, as we know, right?
Oh, yeah.
I have a theory on this, because I set up a rugby team in Malahide in Dublin in Ireland before we left and came here, a women's team. And you have the sort of life or expectancy of women playing is different because they go off and get married and they get pregnant. And, and they're at different ages of their lives and their teenage years, and they might come in with a group of girls and then some of them will stop and then they won't do it again, But it really is up to the Rugby Association and the club to be able to provide that. I think with Pally, it was they couldn't get they couldn't get a coach. I think I remember. I could be wrong. Am I wrong? Well, there could be other circumstances. But that's what happens a lot. There's the lack of resources and support, and then there's the women themselves and what sort of cycle they are at in their playing career,
Yeah, because I used to work at Rugby WA, and part of my role was organising pathway teams, and the women's team was included in that portfolio. And all of the people that I had to interact with, the likes of coaches like the Sheep or Callum, who was down at Pally coaching for a bit, and there was others like Seb and stuff that were involved. They were just like, there's only so much that we can give before we need stuff back as well. Yeah. And so unfortunately it's like, how do we support these people when Rugby WA didn't have any time or resources? The clubs obviously were falling short. These people were like, well,
what can you do? And they're volunteers.
Exactly.
Yeah. It was. I remember when it happened because they had beaten Cott in that final that year.
Yeah.
And they played great. I think it was at Pally as well, was it? And then the next year they're gone, So I think with Women in Sport WA, what we hope to do and what I'm already seeing is with the Gridiron ladies is a different example. They have got 6-7 women's teams at the moment, where rugby union's got 4, and they're finding that their game is expanding of interest and more women are coming to play, but it's stretching out the pool of teams that they have.
Yeah.
So that's interesting.
Yeah, and I find as well, my involvement with 15s hasn't been as great as what it had previously, because now obviously my main focus is on 7s. But I find that there's a lot of interest people have for 7s, and then the game of 15s to them is a bit foreign. Playing 15-a-side and 80-minute games can be a bit, as opposed to playing 7s. And I think a lot of people, when they think of rugby and females in rugby, they think of the 7s girls, people outside of rugby. And it's like, no, there's so much more to this. We have entire national teams, a whole competition that's on.
But we know why that is.
Yeah.
We know how that's happened.
Yeah.
It's because it's become an Olympic sport and the resources are going into it.
Funny that, isn't it?
Yeah. And then for the 15 players or, who love rugby union, it's a bad thing to see, because the games are totally different.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sport is totally different,
Yeah, and look at the likes of some of the sevens players like Shannon Parry, like they were always 15s players, you know.
Yeah.
They were Wallaroos until the sevens program came along. Yeah. And the reason it was because of the resources.
Yeah.
Not just, they still play both, but sevens is now, you know, their main breadwinner. It's the main play, and they play 15s if it fits in. But it just sort of goes to show, you know. Yeah, it is what it is, I think. But
I know. It's a dilemma for women's sport, isn't it?
Because what was that? Oh, dilemma.
A dilemma for women's sport. I lived in the UK and I taught in the UK and as a phys ed teacher. And when the London Olympics got announced, you know, we were looking for funding left, right, and centre as teachers and sports, and you know, you did after school sports, and that was part of your job, but it was you didn't get paid for it. But when the funding from the Olympics came in, all of a sudden there was this money going left, right, and centre, you know.
Yeah.
But when the Olympics stops, you know, the funding's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, and. We did the interview with Leah Parry the other day, and she was saying how, and I didn't know that the softball had been out of the Olympics for so long, you know.
Is it back this year?
It's back this year, so she's over there.
Yeah, it's back the year after that, like the Olympics after that. I think there's some sports that cycle through. They're not even every year. They're like every other year they'll be at the Olympics.
So she said that the host nation has a choice.
Oh, okay.
So
yeah.
In Japan, softball is massive.
Yeah.
So obviously they wanted it, but in Brazil and London, softball wasn't big, so it hasn't been there for a while.
Yeah. I remember hearing, it's back these ones. It's not at the next ones, but it will be at the ones after that. And I think, obviously, I don't think it's been confirmed yet, but I think Queensland's putting the bid in for the ones.
Yeah, that's getting announced on Wednesday.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think that's what's happening, but
yeah,
I don't see on that.
Okay, so now you and the Olympics, right? Yes. What's your goal to get out of the Olympics?
Not getting COVID would be nice. Just going and coming back and not being sick would be amazing. But honestly, I'm just so happy it's still happening.
Yeah.
Like being there is good. So whatever happens, I'll take it.
Yeah. So has there been a moment, I know this is a totally different scenario, but last season when Western Force were getting back into Super Rugby, I was like, don't even think about it, because it mightn't happen, you know. So has there been moments like that?
I don't know. I find I can't control it personally, you know. Yeah. If it happens, if it doesn't, it doesn't. So I'm not going to stress myself out about it because I can't do anything about it. Yeah. Like it is hard. It's hard. Like when we were selected was obviously in time for last year. So we've known for a while that it was on the cards, but staying mentally ready and physically trying to be at your prime for a date that you don't know what it is. Yeah. You know, that's been tough because you have to prepare that it is going to happen, but not knowing, I think, was the strangest part. Yeah. Obviously we've known for a while now that it is all going ahead. So yeah, it's just been full circle.
Yeah, that'd be tough. Now, with Australian women's team, do we have a shot at going back to back?
I'm not sure. I mean,
diplomatic.
Yeah, so we're not allowed to ref. So Aussies aren't allowed to ref the Australians, and that's the rule for, for every country. You're not allowed to ref your own country. But we refed in a tournament a few weeks ago. Australia, New Zealand, Fiji were there, and I think for them it was probably the first time that we've had a full weekend. I mean, they had a comp in New Zealand not too long ago, but one of the most recent opportunities for them to play. and I think they probably learnt a few things, New Zealand looked pretty convincing, but I think Australia picked up a lot of learning points. So,
yeah,
I mean, it's just going to be great to see them playing again, to be honest.
yeah,
Playing
yeah.
again.
And it is like, I remember watching them Commonwealth Games and going, oh, this is exciting. This is,
Yeah,
it is good to watch,
yeah,
it is when
days, watching Australia versus New Zealand and watching them, put it all out there, and the huckers and like all of the, I remember like in Townsville, Portia Woodman absolutely ran over the top of Charlotte Caslick.
Yeah.
Scored, but then on her way back, went over to make sure she was okay and like helped her up off the ground, And that's what it's about. That's why people love watching rugby. And as much as, they do have that rivalry, at the end of the day, most of them are pretty good humans. So that's nice as well, actually being able to respect them on and off the field. Because, it is, it's strange you get to that level and the relationships and interactions they have with each other, when we go on tours and stuff, and they have to spend weeks with other teams, which for most sports is pretty unique, having that, being able to travel the world with the best athletes in the world at your sport. Is pretty amazing. So
I suppose with that whole Sevens program, what's it called? Isn't there a sponsor to it? Yeah. That's what they do, isn't it? They tour the world and they're just playing each other.
Yeah, the World Series.
Yeah. Now, do you get to referee male and female?
No, not just females.
Just females.
We've been selected just for the females tournament.
Yeah. And you're okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay, let me see. I think we've covered a lot.
Yeah.
Now, one question I asked Leah and I asked Catherine Miller, and I think you've sort of alluded to it. If you were not involved in rugby, what sport would you be involved in?
Honestly, recently, I've just been loving CrossFit.
Oh, yes, you do.
Yeah. But I enjoy CrossFit for the social part of it as well. Like, a lot of my friends are there, and like, I am not a very good CrossFit athlete, but, I'm a great social CrossFit athlete. So I would just probably dive head into that. But it's strange refereeing. You're an individual in a team. So I think finding team sports would be interesting. But no, I think CrossFit is the way that I would go.
Are you involved in the Masters games coming up?
I've heard of them. I know they're happening. I had a tap on the shoulder or received an email, so I'll wait and see. But yeah, why not?
Yeah. I'm volunteering for that.
Okay.
Just on the media team, so that would be fun, an experience. Yeah. So I played.
Is it in October?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I played Masters soccer a few years ago and loved it. Absolutely loved it. Like, I think I loved the social side of it more. Like, you used to have soup and wine after training, Well, I shouldn't say that. Kids watching. Soup and water. And the girls and just the sort of casual side of it. And then you got out, like, there was a couple, a female couple, and they had twins, and one of them used to play one half, and the twins, the kids used, probably around 2, were on the sideline, and then the other girl would play the other half. And I was wow. That's just so awesome,
How did it work? Yeah.
The other thing about it, I loved about it, was I used to score goals, but when I was younger, I was always a defender.
Yeah, look, when I was playing rugby when I was, a 9, 10-year-old, I was always the winger. And I think, as a very tall, lanky child and you get put on the wing, it's probably because you're not very good, but still involved. And I was out on the wing, picking flowers and like trying to be as involved as I could. But yeah, look, I wasn't great at the end of the day.
Yeah. Now, thank you so much for your time. How many minutes are we? I don't know. I can't see. It feels like loads. Hold on. No, I'm not going to touch anything because I'm sure I'll do something stupid. Yeah. Good luck, and we will be watching you. When's the first sevens games and stuff?
So we get in. It's not this weekend coming, the weekend after.
Okay.
Yeah, so officially like 7 days until competitions start, but we're the first weekend. Yeah.
So what we're doing with this is we've got a couple of interviews from people going to the Olympics. There's 3. We'll put that up on YouTube, and then there's 2 girls who are starting our podcast, 2 gridiron girls, Mara and Riley, and we hopefully can put that on recording onto the podcast as well, because they are planning to do that before you launch the podcast next week. I can't remember the date. They're going to kill me. 22nd. But yeah, we'll have you on the podcast. So that's
perfect.
Thank you so much.
No worries. Thank you.
Yeah, and maybe we'll catch up when you get back.
Yeah. I'll be after. I'll be here, ready to get back involved for a while.
Crossfitting.
Yeah, maybe.
When's the end of the rugby season?
Well, the competition, the local comp splits this weekend into the top division, top 6 and the bottom 6. But I think finals are normally, late August. So hopefully it's time to get back.
Who has the final this year, or have they decided?
Who knows? I mean, there's some very good local refs, and it would be good to see the hunt for that sort of come finals time. Some seasons it's very clear, like, okay, this referee's been the best consistent, but this year there's so many referees that are doing so well week in, week out, so that's great.
And just one mention, I see there's a young Irish female ref coming through the scenes.
Yeah, there's a few.
Maeve.
There's a few. Yeah, Maeve hanging out, having a great time. She's doing, I believe, for the minute, but yeah, I think she's involved down at the rugby club at Perth Irish as well. Perth Irish used to have a female team, and then that expanded. Oh well, that's just what happens. The way it is.
That's just the way it is. All you can do is promote and support, and that's what we say. All we can do is put it out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Showcase it as women in sports, or motto.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Bye.
All right. See you later. Thanks, Pete.
Bye. Bye.
See ya. Bye.
Bye.